Hi, Mark. How you doing?
I'm great, really good.
That's good. Mark, please tell us how you're using food design to learn from indigenous people. I'm very curious about the manaakitanga concept and how this can impact food systems. The floor is yours, Mark.
Great, thank you for having me. I'm just actually sitting here in my Culinary kitchen. I bet see it in the background. Obviously no students here at the moment. They'll all be slaving over the stove, I imagine, out in their restaurants. So I'm coming from an educator's perspective. I've been teaching for 20 years now, been a chef for about 30 years. And so I've actually got a presentation. It might be easier if I just open that up and run through that, if that's all right.
Sure, go ahead. You can share your screen.
Get in there. Just looking for the button to share it with. Oh, here we go. Is that up? You can see that?
Yes, yes, we can.
Okay, great. Yeah, so I work at a culinary institute. It's called the Eastern Institute of Technology in New Zealand. This presentation, I hope, will add to the conversation of sustainability in our industry for the resources and staffing shortages that the world seems to be going through at the moment. The presentation, I'm coming from an educator's perspective, and I've sort of come up with a design plan for taking a curriculum that's very non-creative. It's very behavioural based, sort of, you know, the monkey see, monkey do. The chef tutors traditionally will get up and show a dish to the students, and then they'll just replicate that dish. I found that it wasn't quite working with, especially with my second year students. So yeah, this presentation that I've sort of quickly thrown together is for any culinary educators out there, and even food producers out there, that can help invigorate the culinary arts students' holistic learning by using these Indigenous values. And I'll go through that now with you. It's manaakitanga is about creating relationships, basically. I've just partway through a culinary arts degree, and it's all sort of boiling down to the relationships that chefs hold with the growers, the suppliers, each other, and the customers. So for those of you who don't know where New Zealand is, I know Jane just sort of kicked things off. She's from the other end of the country. She's way down the bottom. Yeah, we're the little country off the coast of Australia, and my cooking school is in Hawke's Bay, which is situated on the east coast of the North Island. Hawke's Bay is considered the fruit bowl of New Zealand, and it's also home to the second largest wine growing region in the country. So I've been lucky to grow up with farms, orchards and vineyards at my doorstep. We have a reputation in Hawke's Bay as a foodie destination, both nationally and internationally, because of the fresh produce, talented chefs and vibrant hospitality scene that we have. So we're all quite sort of proud in the hospitality world to have been in Hawke's Bay. As I said, I've been a chef for nearly 30 years, working in Australia and New Zealand, and also spent some time working in Iraq for UNESCO, developing their culinary curriculum over there. So that has, all that experience has sort of placed me in a position where I've been witness to the darker underside of the belly, as all the chefs will know, but also the passion, creativity and hospitality that's vital in this industry. I teach on the second year Culinary Arts program. And as a teacher, I wanted to address the environmental challenges, but also the well-being of people in our industry, and to address the negative culture that I still see in my students today when they come in and we have chats every week. And, some of them are still experiencing, discrimination and a little bit of workplace bullying. So I sort of wanted to address that in my sort of curriculum in the pedagogy. Speaking of pedagogy, any educators out there will be familiar with Maslow's hierarchy of needs. And when I began teaching 20 years ago, Maslow's hierarchy was a very popular model of student needs, which had to be met before the motivation of learning and self-actualization or self-identity could be obtained. However, during my degree, as I was mentioning, I came across an alternate version. Without getting into too much detail, this was influenced by Maslow's study of the Blackfoot Nation in Alberta. The version of Blackfoot Nation's hierarchy needs and how it relates to my own beliefs and teaching style probably began my journey into implementing Indigenous values into the curriculum. It also relates to my ethos for when I was a head chef, and I think can be applied to any sort of food service outlet. Therefore, it can be adapted, or I have adapted this model through a lens of a culinary school. It begins with accepting and recognizing that the students on their first day bring with them so much knowledge, skill, and experiences that if we draw on that inherent knowledge, they can make positive contributions from day one. Then if we support each other in a supportive environment in the kitchen, in turn, this contributes to us being a really strong team or a micro community that we all need to look out for each other's well-being to be successful. And then finally, if we care and respect for each other, foster a strong team environment, then we can play a positive role in the wider macro culinary community and embrace the sense of pride belonging to this global food scene, which is probably why we're all here today on this conference call. So then I looked at our own Indigenous values. There are 5 key Māori concepts for well-being, but the 2 I've chosen to highlight in my teaching are manaakitanga and whanaungatanga. Upholding manaakitanga and whanaungatanga can not only support local and international students, but the wider culinary communities in our area. So manaakitanga is about being kind to each other, about respecting our differences, and whanaungatanga is about appreciating that we belong to this wider culinary community. And as this conference shows, there's quite a global cohort of us. And I want the students to know that we're not just a team in this little silo of a kitchen in Hawke's Bay, but we're also part of this wider culinary world. So therefore, I purposefully integrate 5 key aspects that passively and both collectively role model whanaungatanga and manaakitanga. So in this first slide, whanaungatanga translates in the classroom for the students to form meaningful relationships with the local growers. So they gain an understanding of the effort and care and the challenges that have gone into producing the ingredients. This builds the relationships and the sense of community with the students that the growers in our school, with our growers in the school, and in turn it helps the students with a story and sense of purpose behind each of their dishes that they've produced during the year. So we go out and visit, there's so many different suppliers in Hawke's Bay, a lot of organic suppliers, sustainably produced ingredients. So we go out and visit as many of them as we can. So we also like to visit chefs with similar beliefs. They're the local chefs that care for employees, they care for the environment, and they champion local artisan producers. They have, the local ingredients written all over the menu. Casey, for example, at Krieger Range Winery, just about every item on his menu has also got the kilometres away from the restaurant that it is, ranging from 500 metres in his own garden to, several kilometres away. And again, this builds on the community spirit or perpetuity. So the students really like going out and visiting the suppliers and the other chefs. gets the students to know, especially if they haven't been in the industry around here for long, that there's a lot of us out here, and that we should all be working together. Also, with communicating with customers. So 3 of my projects, the students have to go out into the restaurant or serve the customers directly. Not many students look forward to selling directly to the customers. However, in doing so, it builds their confidence, or their mana, as we say in New Zealand, self-identity, and the public can then witness the pride and the passion that they have when they tell the story of the food, knowing where it's come from and how to prepare it. And again, that strengthens the relationship and confidence with the very important customer. Manaakitanga in the classroom, this is to respect the well-being of each student. We have a culture of care in our kitchen, and each student, forms that supportive team. I emphasise the community actualisation, as in the Blackfoot Nation, as we're a cohort, a small community or small whānau family. And also manaakitanga also extends out to the environment. So we try to walk the talk. Our events are managed to reduce our footprint on the environment, and we buy sustainably caught fish, one of the best or most sustainable fisheries or trawlers in New Zealand is right from our doorstep out here in Hawke's Bay. So we get our fish from them. The food waste is either given to the pigs or to the worm farm. And again, the emphasis is on us doing our part, supporting the small local artisan producers to create that community spirit and belonging to something bigger than just our small restaurant. We also go over to the landfill, we call it the dump, just it's not so far from here, where we get to see all the trucks coming in daily with just tons and tons of rubbish. So it's a bit of an eye-opener for the students to see how much waste is produced. The event that I'm going to showcase today, when we first kicked it off, we'd taken all the waste, weigh it, sort it, and this particular event, we ended up with 80 kilos of rubbish, but only 2 kilos went to the landfill. So it was a really valuable learning lesson there for the students. But in terms of what I actually have to do, this is an example of the graduate profile or the curriculum that I get told to teach. It's very broad, wide open for interpretation. There's nothing in it about student values, student agency, student autonomy, or sustainability in any way. And that's one thing that there's a few of us here in New Zealand are looking at addressing. But at the moment, it's not in the curriculum.
Mark, I don't want to be rude, but you have just 2 minutes left. Okay,
I'm just about there. Okay, so this is an example of an assessment where there's a whole lot of dishes there. There's no creativity, and if the students don't have that creativity, it's in chef's DNA to have some creativity, so they can get engaged. This is the event that I just want to showcase. It is one of the projects that is strong on Indigenous values. It's a Taste of Cultures Day. This happens when the students learn about global cuisine on top of the usual food safety and food costings. So they get to try foods and cooking methods that they've never tried before. The added bonus is that any prejudice that the students may come in with against other nationalities soon disappears when they appreciate how interconnected global cuisine is. The key design features: students are free to choose any cuisine. They get to decide on a street food of any country and produce 100 portions of it. Champion local ingredients. They need to detail, how their dish can be sustainable and eliminate waste. And then they also have to show that manaakitanga by training a small team of first-year students. There's a quick video here that I'll show. It's only 40 seconds long. I'm hoping you can hear it.
Well, this is lovely, Mark. Yeah, thank you very much for sharing your experience. And
Yep, no
I
problem.
was really amazed with this Maslow pyramid. On top of that
Mm,
pyramid is the community perpetuity. Sorry, perpetuity.
perpetuity, yep.
Perpetuity. And this is what we all should aim right now. You know, connecting with the climate change issues we all face. So I think we're learning a lot from these communities. Thank you, Mark, and stay with us. Thank
Yep,
you.
no problem. It's a pleasure.
Thank you. Thank you very much.